All right. Well, are you ready to get started, Chris?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's get the sustainability party started. Thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your busy days. We really appreciate you being here. I am going to be one of the presenters today. My name is Melissa Camp, and I am in Phoenix, Arizona today, out in the desert. And with me here is Christopher Matos Rogers in Atlanta. And we're just going to go ahead and take a second, introduce ourselves, and then we will get started with our presentation today, High Performance Homes in Any Market. So as I said, my name is Melissa Camp. I have a bachelor's from ASU in Business and Communication and a master's degree in education. I am a lead AP Homes accredited professional, which means I actually own a green hard hat and I love going on construction sites and looking at high performance home construction. Very nerdy, but that's my passion. I've served on the sustainability advisory group on and off for several years now. And through that, I've had the opportunity to help update the website, sustainability.realtor. I've also been able to help integrate content into C2EX. If you guys haven't done C2EX, I have my cool pin on here, but commitment to excellence. And now, thanks to the Sustainability Advisory Group, they've integrated sustainability content into the framework that they had already set up. So that's all exciting. I'm also a licensed realtor with HomeSmart for about 13 years. I am a licensed instructor. I've been teaching just about a decade. I am a teacher for the green designation, and I also helped update the book twice. And let's see, I think if you were to take the class online, there's a much younger version of myself on the online version of the green designation class. Outside of that, I also have a nonprofit called Sustainable Real Estate Education, and I'm hoping this year when I find some free time, I can start writing some grants for some sustainable projects. And with that, I will turn it over to Chris. Chris, go ahead and tell us about you.
Yes, and can we go ahead and cue up the next slides?
Sure.
All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Christopher Matos Rogers. I am a realtor based in Atlanta. Like Melissa, I have served on NAR's Sustainability Advisory Group. And from my market here in Atlanta, which a lot of people would not assume as being an area with sustainability and green on the mind, I got into real estate from marine biology prior because there wasn't really representation in my market. So 7 years ago, I came into real estate, and I've been in leadership and volunteering with my local association, Atlanta Realtors, as you'll see in my picture, that entire time. Helped us start our first sustainability committee. We've had it going since 2018, and it's strong. We got some other past chairs from the Atlanta Realtors Sustainability Committee here today. I see them in the audience. In addition to that, I focus a lot in energy efficiency, fuel switching, and all of the myriad of benefits that come from that. So you'll see, I also have work, I'm a director with the Georgia Solar Energy Association, and a lot of that depth of knowledge and experience that will go into our presentation as well today. So from that introduction, we'll go ahead and pop in. We kind of have like the rule of threes today. We're going to have 3 modules to cover for you on what a high performance home is. And these are, again, coming me from Atlanta with Melissa in Arizona. These are not places you would think of at first for green, but we're going to show you that this is happening all across the country. So with that, we're going to cover the areas of energy, water, as well as air. And so the myriad benefits that a high performance home touches on all of these and how they can help you to add to your business and then to help people when they're buying or selling have these attributes in their home. So Melissa, if you go ahead and go to the slide for energy efficiency.
Yep. I just wanted to mention before we moved on, I have a ton of alphabet soup after my name because I absolutely love learning. I'm addicted to learning. I want to know what alphabet soup you guys have. So go ahead. I saw Linda Williams put something in the chat with her alphabet. I want to know which designations do you guys have here in the room? Go ahead and put that in the chat while we queue up the next slide. PMN, green, good. C2EX, awesome. Christopher's got at home with diversity. All right, we have some educated people. Barbie, Lindsay, awesome.
Yes, always be learning, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so we can go to the next slide. All right, so I'm excited to talk to you guys about energy today. It's probably the most boring topic that we'll cover today, but I think it's super exciting. And again, talking about the threes, we're going to break down energy into the three things. Energy efficiency. We're going to talk about then electrification, which is something that we're hearing about more and more. So we want to make sure you guys understand what's going on there and some resources for it. And then we'll kind of finish that out with renewable energy. And what I think is really important for you to know here is that so many times when we talk about, energy and climate change, people will say, well, if you just get an electric car, you're only shifting the load. But these are not one and done solutions, they are progress. So you'll kind of see as we go through this module, I really want you to see the journey you can begin, and then you can document as a realtor and also help your clients achieve the same thing. So Melissa, we can go to the next.
Too fast, sorry.
No worries. All right, so we'll spend a little bit of time here. First and foremost, energy efficiency is the crux of it all. It's where we probably all start. There's it's also probably most well known, but there's also a lot of confusion here. So why do homeowners perform energy efficiency upgrades? One, for almost everybody, it's to help lower energy costs, right? We all love to save money and to decrease the amount that we spend on our housing and something as non-exciting as energy. But also things that we may not know unless you've done this is that having an energy efficient or high performing home also increases your indoor air comfort. It improves indoor air quality. So if you have clients that have allergies or somebody in their family has issues with breathing, this is one you're going to get a question on sometimes, which I think Melissa will cover later in her module. But then also a lot of people get behind it for energy independence, reducing our reliance on any kind of fossil energy. There's a huge resilience component as well. For the other people here in Atlanta, and if you visited Atlanta, if you've flown into our airport, we're known as the city within a forest. And so we have a lot of trees. And because of that, with a lot of rain and a lot of storms, we have a lot of power outages occasionally as well. So resilience is a growing area of concern. And of course, for the planet, everybody wants to reduce their carbon footprint and just be better. So when we look at what is energy efficiency with a home, there's usually two approaches. One is energy efficiency, having more efficient and resource resilient features such as your heating and cooling and the appliances in your house that are using energy. But even once you've conditioned that air, heated or cooled it, dehumidified it, like down here in the South with all of our moisture, it's important to make sure that you maintain that air, that you're not adding additional load because it's all leaving your house, right? So we're probably all very familiar with insulation and air sealing. That's really the next big step to look at. And what's most important when we're talking about a real estate transaction here is that we need third-party testing on these areas, right? So if you're actually building or doing a massive renovation and retrofit, it's very important to do multiple tests during the process. One that a lot of people don't think about is testing once the installation and the envelope has gone in, but you don't have drywall yet, right? Melissa, have you all seen that?
Absolutely. I actually did a pre-drywall inspection. I'm a net zero landlord. And so I built a house with a production builder in 2020. And because I'm a lead AP and I'm comfortable looking at insulation levels and whatnot, I literally went in before they put up all the drywall because you can't see anything. And I had like a needle and I marked, I think it was like 6 inches or 8 inches. I put like a black mark, like a Sharpie on it, and I stuck it through the spray foam. So I wasn't really messing it up, but I could measure how deep it was. And if it wasn't even in certain places, I asked the home builder to come back and fill it in. And my home builder was amazing. They actually brought out, when I made them a 10-page inspection report with my findings, and they actually brought out the insulation company because they put the drywall up. The next time I went back in the house after the report, the drywall was up and I was like, well, did they fix anything or not? I don't know. So they brought out these guys with a $6,000 infrared camera and they were pointing it at different places above the shower. There was parts in the closet, things that I did not even catch. They pulled that drywall off, filled the spray foam insulation while I'm standing right there, put the drywall back on, textured it, painted it, and you would never, ever know. And I was so hardcore about my home envelope being so tightly sealed because then I didn't have to spend so much money on solar. The first step is really to insulate the envelope and So you don't just put solar on a shack. You want the home to be high performing, and then you go to the renewables.
That's such a valuable part, and we're going to make that exact point a little further down. So we really should view this as like a progression. Start with your energy efficiency at first, and solar and renewable should be at the end of what you do. You should size those based on your envelope in your house, and it's so important. Our colleague Craig Foley has been doing a deep energy retrofit of his house in Massachusetts, and he did spray foam as well. And they did have a blower door test pre-drywall, and they were able to find there's always going to be some areas that are missed, and so you test and you go back and you find those areas, you go back and you fix them, and then you put drywall up, because it's either just not going to happen once the drywall is up, or it's going to be much more expensive. This is also a key for some rebate programs, like here with Georgia Power. When you do a whole house energy retrofit, you got to reduce your energy usage by 25%, and they have test out at multiple stages. But it's really important to have this information, because this is where the appraisal comes in. And Melissa, if we can go to the next slide.
Yep.
And so usually these tests and these programs, you're going to use an energy efficiency label or program. And we have a couple examples here that you guys, hopefully you see some of these in your market. Energy Star, it's not just for appliances, it's also a whole home approach. You see that a lot in new construction. You probably all have heard of LEED, L-E-E-D, that is from the U.S. Green Building Council. Home Innovation by NGBS is actually a partner with NAR. And Earthcraft is a local regional program. So that's here in Georgia as well as Virginia. You probably have something similar there. And each one of those is going to have, again, these test outs required to prove what you did, but then they usually also have, as Melissa, I believe you do some technical advising as well, where you go on site and you would document during the process to verify what went up before the walls did, to verify that those features are there. And this is really important. Melissa's going to touch more on appraisal in the additional section, so I don't want to repeat it, but this is information that would go into your green addendum, which is what appraisers use to assign value for a feature. So that's super important. And then lastly, I'll just mention, appliances and electronics, also, Energy Star, is probably where we are all most familiar with them, but that's super important too, because again, while we start with your envelope, it's also about what's within your home. Next slide. And here's an example. I want you guys to know this resource. So this is the Green Building Registry, which is part of Earth Advantage out of Portland. And Melissa, do y'all have?
I'm trying to type in the chat box there, sorry.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. You guys, I think in Phoenix, started pre-populating data from Green Building Registry. Is that correct?
I know I can find houses in Phoenix. I'm not sure exactly how it got there, but yes, I use the Green Building Registry to find places, because sometimes there's certifications on homes and people don't even realize they had it, especially if it's built within the last few years. A lot of these houses that are newer have HERS ratings, and this Green Building Registry is just a wealth of information. And now we're actually playing nice in the sandbox. We're sharing information, which is great for our whole industry, because we can actually find what we're looking for now.
Exactly. Well, and I love it because, again, you made a good point. A lot of times homeowners don't know that they have this information. It wasn't passed down from the builder, or if they're not the first owner, they may not know. So I use this almost like, honestly, nowadays on every listing that I have, I will just go in there and I will check. In fact, I had a home that I was helping some people buy, and I thought it probably had, because it was all electric and it had a lot of high performance features, but it was not in here. But the key here is that it's open domain. You can go in, you type a project in, and it will bring up, here's an example of a house here in the Atlanta area, and it tells you the level, when it was done. And what's really cool is if you see here down on sort of the right lower portion, it says download the addendum. So it will pre-populate the green appraisal addendum for you, which is a really cool feature. And again, it kind of takes potential error out of the equation and can help you roll it into your marketing. Let's go to the next slide. So as we kind of wrap up energy efficiency, I just wanted to kind of cover this a little bit. And here you see a graphic. This is actually my home. We have a smart home energy monitor, and this has been a great tool for us to really understand where our energy is going and when. And we've been able to drastically reduce some of our vampire load. And some of the vampire loads were unexpectedly high. Let's just put it that way.
What is a vampire load, in case our audience is not
familiar? Thank you. So vampire load is the energy that things use when they're simply plugged in. And one of the most surprising ones to us was actually in radiant in-floor heating in our bathroom in our basement was on its own breaker. And when we turned it off, it dropped like 50 watts. And so that was shocking because we never used that. It's a feature the previous owner put in. And so it's been just pulling 50 watts for the last, we turned it off last year for 6 years. So I'm like, wow, I wish I had known that sooner. So little simple things like that add up to big over time. But I want to give you some things you could potentially walk away from and put into your home, your business, and have conversations with clients. By now, we probably all know swapping to LED, super easy. Lighting now is very diverse in its color, temperature, its wattage size. It's so cheap now and long lasting. That's the key, because I don't know about y'all, but I used to get sick of swapping out bulbs. I have a lot in my house. So I saved a lot when I went LED, and I no longer have to replace a lot of them on an annual basis. One of the easiest ones, and I'm sure Melissa can relate here, is just grab a tube of caulking. Air sealing is so easy to do, and it has massive savings instantly. So a tube of caulk could be $5-6. And if you seal around doors, windows, ducting, that's another one for your air conditioning ducts. In the South here, we have bad design. We run AC ducting through unfinished crawl spaces and in attics. And they are usually very poorly sealed. And so we have a lot of infiltration and loss there. So usually a few $100s of air sealing your ducts can save you 30% many times in the South on your heating and cooling. Another one is just take the human error out of it. Melissa will talk a little bit about this in water, but honestly, we are sometimes the biggest holdback to using energy efficient features. We can have them in our house, but if we don't use them, they're not doing anything. So what can you automate to do it without your input? So obviously everybody knows Nest thermostats and with HVAC, but you can also do things with lighting, and you can base these on time or occupancy sensors to reduce that load. Just remove yourself from the equation. Another one is time of use. For some of you, you may have fairly flat rate billing on electricity, but many parts of the country have moved for time of use, and that's only going to continue growing. So one of the ways you can save is by running your heavier electric loads like your dishwasher, your clothes dryer, your car charging to a lower price time, and that can have instant massive savings for you. And then as we go into our next module, we're going to also look at electrifying everything from electric vehicles to heat pumps to induction cooking. These are electric technologies that are more efficient than their fossil fuel counterparts, but they also do not sacrifice performance. And that's the biggest thing for us to understand, is that sustainability and energy efficiency does not have to be sacrificed. It should be sustainability that you can live with. And that's how we have that success. So we can go to the next slide. We got a great question from Linda. How do we know what times are lower use in our area? So first of all, you need to know if you have time of use in your plan. And in some places you can opt in to time of use. We do have time of use in Georgia if you opt into it. But go to your local utilities website and look up rate plans, and they'll have all the information there about what's available. And if it is something with multiple tiers, when those different tiers apply. That's a great question. So electrification benefits, this is something that you are hearing more and more now. With the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, it's just going to it's going to get bigger. And you guys need to be prepared to have conversations when clients come to you. But again, there's massive benefits in this for your own home and your own business. So let's throw a couple figures out. So 2 to 5 times. Electrification technologies such as heat pumps and EVs are up to 5 times more efficient as their fossil gas counterparts. That's an instant way to save energy. Another number to keep in mind is 39%. That is what the building operations and construction adds to our CO2 number. So it's the biggest single chunk. And then another interesting one, look at this, is $7,500 to $8,200. And this is coming from the New Buildings Institute. It was actually in the Atlanta Home Builders magazine this month. An all-electric single-family home, on average, is $7,500 to $8,200 cheaper to build than a comparable home. And a lot of that is because It comes down to building the infrastructure within the home, the pipes from the gas meter to the appliances, and then of course ventilation, right? If you have a gas furnace, a gas water heater, gas stoves, you need to make sure all of those are properly ventilated. So by removing them and going electric, you save this much money potentially without cheapening the building, right? So many times when we save this kind of money, we choose a cheap product, which has usually a myriad of concerns and can raise your total cost of ownership because the product is not designed for like a longer life. So instead of going cheap, let's go smart. And if we can go to the next slide, please.
And I'm glad you said total cost of home ownership. That's really something that we need to be aware of.
Yes, I mean, with affordable housing, we have to look beyond just the purchase price, right? It needs to be what is your ongoing monthly expenses, your maintenance. Here in Georgia, we have some of the highest income inequality, and particularly energy burden. So even though our energy is super cheap, because of our environment, our largely older building stock, lower income folks are spending 20% or more on their energy, right? So these are things that they can have immediate winnings from. So what are your opportunities to electrify? So in our house, there's generally 4 that we're going to talk about. Space heating, that's your biggest cost. Get to know heat pumps because they come in many different forms, but heat pumps are like magic, but it's not, it's just science. Melissa, right? I mean, heat pumps, what's cool about them is that because they are not producing heat, they are simply moving heat. And there is always heat in the air, even when it's super cold outside, right? If you know science, you know the degree of 0 Kelvin, which we would never reach on Earth, but 0 Kelvin means the total absence of heat. We don't have that on Earth. So there's always heat that can be picked up and moved somewhere. So you're either going to move that heat from inside your house to the outside. If you have an air conditioner, you already have a heat pump. It's just it doesn't go both ways. It only goes one direction. But heat pumps physically move the heat from one area to the other, wherever you're wanting the heat to be or not be. And so what's awesome is the people who already have an air conditioner, if you upgrade to a heat pump, literally it's very simple. You can't upgrade an existing unit, but it's a very simple change within the mechanics that allows you to also rely on that for heat in the winter. Another one is cooking. This is very personal for folks. I will tell you that as of 2020, I thought this was where my decarbonization journey would end. I'm an amateur cook. I need to start posting on Instagram about it, but I love to cook. But I now have induction. Once I learned about it, I was open to it. I was blown away. Not all electric cooking is the same. We're not talking about resistive heating. We're talking about induction. We'll definitely encourage you to look there. Greater efficiency and a myriad of benefits that are shown on the slide. Water heating is another one. That's usually another big source of our energy. Heat pumps, again, come to our rescue here with a myriad of other benefits as well. They also dehumidify because they are using a heat pump to move heat from your ambient air into the tank. They also dehumidify a little bit. So you'll get some benefit if you're in say a hot room like a garage. I know you're in Arizona, I'm in Georgia. There's a lot of homes, especially built since the 80s, that have the water heater in the garage. This is a great way, especially if it's a closed-in garage, to pull that heat into your water tank and cool your garage a little bit. So one of those little things. And the other one people wouldn't necessarily think about as a house, but vehicles. And Claudine, I have a slide-in KitchenAid that I love. They may just be low in stock. I will tell you, sometimes things, like everything these days, are taking longer to get, but they do come. Every manufacturer has them now in every style: drop-in, cooktop, slide-ins, everything. And then vehicles. This is actually what got me into real estate. I switched to electric from my previous career when I worked in marine biology to save money for electric. Started saving massive amounts of money. My husband and I both swapped 8 years ago next month. We have saved $40,000 in those 8 years between the 2 cars and maintenance and fuel. So huge wealth generation. And it led me to go into real estate because I wanted to help people that were wanting to pursue these different things. All right, if we can hop to the next slide.
Yep, that's awesome. And I'm just curious in the chat, who's using induction cooking and loves it? We would love to hear from you and see what your experience has been with the induction cooking, because some people do get really upset about, taking away their gas stove if you talk about that. So
yes, I know I would love to hear other people's opinions on that if you've tried it. I will say there's a couple myths we have to bust. You have to have special pots. You don't. They just have to be magnetic. You can't use glass, aluminum, or copper. All my Le Creuset cast iron work, my all-clad pans are steel, they work. And many of other pans, if you go buy new pans now, or if you're needing to buy them, most of them have started adding steel on the bottom so that they at least conduct. So they work really well. And also with that, I forgot to mention, one of the things I wanted to say is the biggest thing that we want people to do is that we want you to explore these things. We understand two things happen with many of these technologies, right? When I went electric vehicles 8 years ago, I cannot tell you the amount of disinformation that was out there. And usually the people who are speaking the loudest have never done it, right? They are just repeating something they've heard. There was so much disinformation around electric vehicle tax credits and the usability. I still have people to this day tell me that I can't exist, right? That the use case for electric vehicles doesn't exist, but they're literally disputing what my family has experienced for 8 years. So I just want us to be open to explore, because we already have people come and talk to us about this, and it's only going to increase. And realtors are, I say, the original influencer, right? We all have spheres, people trust us, we are their guide. And when they come to ask us because they've been hearing about X, Y, and Z, we need to make sure that we have relevant, recent experience, not something from the 90s. So if you experience an electric technology in the 90s, and you never tried it again, it would be like if you had tried the internet in the 90s, decided it wasn't for you, and in 2022, you're still out there telling people that they shouldn't use the internet because of your experience in 93. We don't have that happen, obviously, but we do have that same concept happen with a lot of sustainability and electrification technologies today. So you are the key to somebody who could potentially have the savings, the myriad benefits, and other things. And sometimes we as realtors are the ones who can make that difference. So just make sure when people come to you that you actually have relevant recent experience instead of just saying something that you've heard online. And so the last piece of this, again, because most people will say, well, you can electrify, you can do energy efficiency, but you're still burning coal. First of all, that's not really happening. Coal is a very small percentage, but the last piece that we should all be looking at from both a personal scale and or a grid scale is to clean up, and all of it is getting cleaner by the day. So solar, wind, and geothermal are all options that show up in the residential setting. The number one thing that happens that I hear in Atlanta is that agents don't actually understand the benefits, right? What are the benefits? Because the benefits are the value. So when you break down the benefits, you can, again, use the green appraisal addendum. There's some great tools, PV value. We also have NAR partner Pearl certification. They do at time of sale certification. So if you have a greenhouse or a home that has had updates but hasn't had a program certification done, they will come in, do all this third-party testing and certification, and provide you a great kit for you to provide for marketing, but also to the appraiser. All right, next slide. And then I'll be real quick because we're running short on time, but this is my family's decarbonization timeline. So this is what's really important here, is that this should all take time, right? I've shared with you what we've already done, but then our last couple stages, so that you can see what it could look like and what it could potentially look like for other folks, right? So that it's palatable. You'll see on here that I put some ages for some of our appliances, gas appliances, as they age. Because what's most important is that when people are making these changes, they usually only are doing it at a time of duress when the water heater blew up or the furnace went out. And so they just put the cheapest thing in there, they stay with the same, rather than understanding what their options could be. So again, these are options that people can do. They can fuel swap as it makes sense, as the device is reaching the end of its life, and make those improvements over time. Because each time that they decide to put a less efficient and or a gas device back in, they are doing a 10, 15, or 20-year commitment to that. So if we can get people to understand that what their full options are, that's great. Also, what's really good about the 10-year timeline is that with the Inflation Reduction Act, those credits are in here starting next year for 10 years. So there are going to be people that are using them. So you could create your own 10-year time plan to convert your house or improve your house whatever amount you want to do. But you could create a roadmap to doing that, and you could help your clients do that as well that are curious with that. And with that, I will hand it over to Melissa for water.
And I absolutely agree with you, Chris. I mean, I think we should all be starting with ourselves. I've learned so much by just experimenting on my own home, and then being able to share that with my clients with firsthand knowledge. I think that's been really important. So don't be afraid to try something. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about water. Obviously, there's some water shortages going around in different places in the country. There's some serious droughts happening. So what we can do is be more water efficient, be more mindful of our water. And then real briefly, we're going to talk about water quality. All right. Yeah, I'm seeing a few things in the chat here. Basically, the idea behind electrification is that electricity is renewable, whereas, gas and coal are not renewable. Let's see, Chris, did you want to talk? Does the Inflation Reduction Act give tax credits for green improvements in 2022? I'm not exactly sure.
I was going to try to type some responses in while you were talking,
okay.
but
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no worries. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the problem with the water crisis is that the water that's drinkable is disappearing, and the water that is not drinkable is going to start appearing everywhere. Okay, that's a quote by Jaden Smith. It's from a movie I absolutely love on Netflix. I probably watched it 3 times, called Brave Blue World. I think that one is Matt Damon. All right, so if you're looking for something to watch tonight, put that on your list of things to follow up. So 13.6% is the amount of potable drinking water that buildings account for, okay? The average American family uses over 300 gallons of water per day. And about 70% of our total household water use is happening inside, which means about 30% outside. So how can we start to conserve water? Well, we need to reduce our indoor and outdoor use of water. You could do that by establishing a baseline, and you could do all kinds of tests to figure out where you might be leaking water. You could test your toilet with dye, or you could just read your water meter to see if it's spinning, even though you're not using water. That would indicate a leak. Your drinking water, you can research and test your water supply. Every market is going to have different concerns based on your geographic location, so you should learn what those are. Let's see, we're going to talk about remodeling and building opportunities, how we can make our homes water efficient. And then it's not enough just to change your house. So if I build a high performance house that's really water efficient, but I operate it like a fool, then that just pretty much negates the savings. So we have to live mindfully with our behavior and can't just leave it up to the home. So I'm going to come at this in 2 ways. There's my green hard hat that I like to wear, and there's actually the house that I did the pre-drywall walkthrough on. But I'm going to look at this in 2 ways, saving water using green building science, and then saving water with a good mindset and good habits, not letting your sink run while you're doing the dishes. If you do that in my house, you're going to be in trouble. All right, so green building science is about establishing metrics. So we need to find a baseline use of water, and that's going to depend obviously on the size of the house, how many people are living there. And then next we can test and we can act. We can either do it ourselves or we can get professional testing. Obviously, we want to fix any leaks that we found. If you have a pool that could be leaking, or a toilet, even spigots outside, if it's just drip, drip, dripping, slow drip, that accounts for a lot of water over time, and that's just wasting water. So we need to fix all of those leaks and then retest. You can retest to measure those savings from where you started from. And then also pay attention to what you're doing when you're using your water use, and use tech to help you monitor. So just like energy had some certifications, there's some certifications and labels with water. And so there's the HERS H2O. That's going to build off of the HERS index, which is for energy efficiency, but this time it's actually going to look at water. So it says, with the annual family spending more than $1,000 on water costs, it's a simple, easy to compare rating scale from 0 to 100 plus, where lower numbers mean less water use. Builders that are already having their homes HERS rated can easily add a HERS H2O rating. And then over here on the right, maybe you've seen this before. This is pretty popular. This is a WaterSense label. This is on like faucets, shower heads, all kinds of products. But basically, when you see this label, that means that the product is going to be about 30% more water efficient than typical new construction requires. Okay. It does require third-party verification as well. So look for that WaterSense label. It's a very easy way to find products. All right, so here's all the WaterSense products. There's toilets, sinks, shower heads, urinals, weather-based irrigation controls, etc. All right. All right, now if you really want to get into it, and this is my lead AP coming out here, we can get into flow rates. And so when I'm doing a project, I actually have to go and look at the flow rates, and you can find these on here. But as far as when I'm looking for products, I'm going to look for a kitchen faucet that's flowing at 2.2 gallons per minute or less, a bath faucet flowing at 1.5 gallons per minute or less, shower head 1.75 gallons per minute, a toilet 1.1 gallons per flush. And then if you're looking at washer machines, you want to look at an IWF of less than 4.3 to 3.2, and that depends on the capacity. But if you're looking at specs, that's what you need to look for. If you want to check to see if your house is leaking water, or your building, could be your office building as well, you can read your water meter and then wait about 15 minutes when no one's using the water, read it again, and if it's changed, then you have a leak. Ideally, your water pressure is going to be less than 60 PSI. You can also really easily and cheaply add a faucet aerator. So they basically just screw on to your faucet. Instead of switching out the entire faucet, you can get a $3 piece to make the water seem like it's flowing at a higher pressure. And then this is kind of old school, but why not? It works. If you don't want to swap out your toilet, I won a contest from the Department of Water Quality in Arizona for saving some water, and they sent me all these things. And one of them was just, it's like a plastic bag that you fill with water and you hang it on the inside of the tank. So that way, when your toilet is filling up, it doesn't fill all the way up and it still flushes. So you don't have to completely switch out the toilet. You could even use a big river rock if you wanted. All right, so we have some building opportunities. I'm big on the central plumbing core. And so that image on the top is going to show you how the hot water heater is basically in the middle. And so that way it doesn't take a really long time for water to get to certain places in the home. Okay, so it means less waiting for water, more efficient, less piping length for the builder. And they also don't have to have as wide of diameters for the piping, and it's less labor. So really it saves them money for the build of it. And it also saves the occupants wait time at the faucet. I have a central plumbing. I'm sorry, I don't have a central plumbing core. But you know, I have my water heater coming up, so I'll tell you about that in the next slide. Gray water is amazing. We need to do a lot more gray water recycling. So basically, gray water is going to be taking all of your water from your bathroom sinks, not your kitchen sink, but your bathroom sinks, your showers, your bathtubs, your washer machine. And it's going to basically reuse that water. You're going to store it and then reuse it for irrigation outside. Okay, you can use it for toilet flushing. You can use it for irrigation. You can use it for car washing. If you want to know how much you might be able to get, take the number of occupants in your home, multiply it by about 40 gallons to estimate your daily savings. Or if you're just going to do gray water from your washing machine, you would take 15 multiplied by the number of occupants. And that's about how much water you could save every day. So it's much easier to do gray water, obviously in new construction. When you're building from the ground up, you just need a separate drain for the gray water. But it's also possible to retrofit older homes. There's a product out there that is of interest to me called Hydraloop, HYDRALOOP, Hydraloop. And that might be something I might be looking for in my house for gray water recycling. And then I just want to point out at the bottom there's a resource that has all kinds of guides on any kind of green building project that you want to do. And it's in English and it's in Spanish with pictures, and it's just a beautiful resource. So make sure you have that in your tool belt if you've never been over there. All right, so water heater savings. Obviously, we can get Energy Star certified on-demand water heating, which is what you're seeing in the picture right there. A recirculation pump, a timer, and then we can also use insulated jackets and tubings. If you have one of those big cylinder water heaters, if you insulate them, that almost pays for itself immediately. These are my water heaters, obviously the old one and the new one, and yes, they are gas. I hope I didn't offend anyone, but nevertheless, I switched out my water heater because in my master bath, I discovered, and I actually timed it, I'm waiting 2 minutes and 36 seconds for hot water because my master bath is at the end of my plumbing run. It took a really long time for hot water to get over to my bathroom. So I switched out my water heater. That was about $3,000. And then I also in the master, I put a recirculation pump under my sink, and it was an additional $300. But now in my master, with those two changes, it was about $3,300. But now I save 2 minutes and 30 seconds worth of water every single time I get in that shower because it takes 6 seconds for the water to cool, to heat up now. So it's really been wonderful to have hot water on demand, and we've definitely been saving a ton of water. So products alone aren't going to do it for you. You have to change your personal habits. Obviously, we can all take shorter showers. We could set a timer, or if you listen to the radio in the shower like I do, 1 song or 2 songs, you got to get out. You could bring a bucket. One of my good friends who's an environmentalist literally brings a bucket in the shower, and whatever water she's not using, she goes out and dumps it on some plants, you know, when she's done with her shower. And then you could always shower with a friend. That also saves water. All right, don't let the water run while you're brushing your teeth and you're washing dishes. Only run full loads of dishes and clothes in your clothes washer. My kids are always leaving glasses of water everywhere around my house. I'm picking them up constantly. They don't drink them all, but instead of dumping them down my sink, I'm dumping them outside on my plants. For toileting, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. You only need to flush when it's needed. If you want to go one step further, you might even think about a composting toilet. And then this is a little bit less obvious, but eating more whole foods and less meat is also going to be able to help save water across the board. A really fun quiz online there. It's watercalculator.org. You might want to check that out to see maybe where you can start to save some water in your own life. All right, outdoor water solutions, fix your leaks. Okay, group plantings. So when you have plants, kind of plant the higher water use plants with the higher water use and the lower water use with the lower water use. Xeriscaping, that's using native drought tolerant plants. If you don't know what those are, you can look them up on the internet. You might consider artificial turf as well. This is huge. I really wanted to start doing this again. I used to harvest rainwater, and then my cistern got really yucky after probably about 5 or 6 years, and I had to get rid of it. But nevertheless, you can harvest rainwater very simply by, you know, putting a bucket down where the rain is dumping, or more elaborately with gutter systems and filtration. And there's a whole bunch of ways we can harvest rainwater. We definitely want to use drip irrigation instead of sprinklers and put them on timers, sensors, and automation. I was about to cry the other day when I looked across the street, and it's literally pouring rain in Phoenix, which is kind of rare. So it's pouring rain, and my neighbor's sprinklers are just shooting the water everywhere. They just dropped $150,000 on a remodel. Can't they get a sensor to like have their yard know that it's raining right now and it doesn't need, they don't need to have their sprinklers on?
That's a great way, as I mentioned earlier, of automation. Take out the human error.
Yeah, it'll do it for you. It'll water it when it needs it and not water it when it doesn't. And a lot of utilities will have incentives for these things as well. If you have a pool, get a cover so it's not evaporating, or remove it. This is one that we probably don't often think of, but if you're doing an outdoor project, it's really a good idea to get permeable pavers. So that way, when it's raining and we have stormwater runoff, the water has someplace to go. It can go back down to the groundwater underground where we want it to be. So don't do continuous concrete. Make sure that there's space in between so that the water can go where it needs to go. All right, so outside, how can we change our habits? Well, only water your landscaping early in the morning or late in the evening to prevent evaporation, and do not overwater. Use a broom, not a hose, to clean your hardscapes and your windows. Harvest rainwater right off your roof with buckets. There's my elaborate setup the other day. You see my watering can there. Well, hey, that whole bucket was filled and I got to water some plants. So set your lawnmower blades higher to limit evaporation. Limit or skip your car washes, or just use 2 buckets and a sponge to clean your car. I know we drive clients in our cars, so we have to have them presentable. And then uncover or cover your pool and spa in between uses. In case you're not familiar, please look this up. The Appraisal Institute Green and Energy Efficient Addendum. Who has used this before? Can I get like who in the chat has used the Green and Energy Efficient Addendum? Because I find when I'm teaching, a lot of agents are not familiar with this tool. And so I just wanted to point out, this is like I want to say it's 5 pages now. There's all kinds of information from green home certifications to, information on solar. There's a whole page just on solar, but here there's information on your water heater. So if you have an Energy Star or a tankless water heater, there's water efficiency here. If you have reclaimed water, gray water, water saving fixtures, which would be the water saving fixture. What is it? Water sense. And then rain barrels. So if you have houses and you're listing homes with these features, please use this form to help the appraiser to identify these features and hopefully value them. Okay, so please use the AI Green Addendum. And just FYI, I have to say this, you cannot fill this out for your clients. Don't fill this out for your clients. This needs to be filled out by whoever has the most information about the home. So that might be the builder, that might be Pearl certification, that might be the homeowner, but it is not the listing agent, okay? This is information that we want to collect, but we don't want to be the source. We want to be the source of the source. Okay, just really quick on water quality, dissolved metals. I'm not well certified, but I've studied the well certification system for buildings. And these are some of the metals that we want to avoid in our water, as well as the thresholds. And then if you're not sure what your water is like in the area that you're living in, there is a resource here, that epa.gov/safe-water/lab, where you can go to get testing. All right, some other ways we can clean our drinking water. You can use UV light. I just had to get a new refrigerator. I went on vacation to Hawaii and all of my food was bad when I got home because my refrigerator decided to die on me. But anyways, my water dispenser actually has like ultraviolet light cleaning capability, which is kind of cool. Built right in. But there's all kinds of filtration. You can do RO, distillation, or use a water softener. Just depends on what's in your water, what your house is like, where you live. Chris, did you want to chime in?
Oh, on the water? No, I was reading over the comments. We've got some great comments in the box.
Okay. All right, so air. We're going to talk about indoor air quality science, healthier homes, and personal habits to keep the home highly performing. Americans are inside approximately 90% of the time. Concentrations of some pollutants are 2 to 5 times higher than typical outdoor concentrations. And poor indoor air quality can be found in about 30% of new and remodeled buildings. I'm wiping my tears with that last one. That's painful. We don't need to do that. We can do better. All right, so we need to talk ventilation. Chris was talking energy efficiency. We have a really tight home envelope, but if we have all the same air and we don't have air changes, then we're going to have poor air quality inside of our very energy efficient home. So we want both, which means we need to have some sort of ventilation. So your ventilation could be natural. That's my favorite. Just open the windows and let fresh air come in. There's no cost to do that. Obviously, if there's wildfires happening outside or something, maybe you're not going to be able to open the windows then, but nevertheless, most of us should be able to use natural ventilation. There's also mechanical ventilation. The best HVACs are the continuously running HVACs, but there can also be sensors. So like some of the builders that I know are automatically starting the fan as soon as the bathroom light goes on, the fan goes on. And by the way, the fan in the bathroom should go over the shower. It is for moisture. It is not for toileting. All right. Filtration. HEPA filters are the Mac Daddy of filters. They're going to filter out the most amount of particulates. But if you don't want to pay for a HEPA filter or your HVAC is not able to support a HEPA filtration system, I recommend MERV 13 or higher. But obviously the filtration level is going to depend on whatever system you have in your house. But the higher the MERV, the more things it's going to filter out. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about compartmentalization. We want to keep the air in the garage. And if you're living in a condo or multifamily, we don't want to smell what our neighbors are cooking next door. Okay. And this could be a safety thing too, because guess what? If you're carbon monoxide, like I have an automatic start on my car. What if my kid hits that 3 times and I'm not paying attention and my car is in the garage running and all that air is coming into my house? That is a big problem. So we want to have compartmentalization where we're keeping the air from the garage in the garage. All right, don't get mad at me, but electrification is where it's going. That's where we're headed, and we need to start looking more at induction cooking and not gas, electric fireplaces rather than wood burning. It's just safer not to have gas in the home for all of the occupants. All right, let's prevent off-gassing. All right. I've done green remodels, NGBS, National Green Building Standard. And when you go into my remodels, it is odor neutral. You don't smell the new carpet smell. You don't smell the paint because all of that is not good to be breathing. Okay. We want to buy paints and stains that have no VOCs. VOCs is a volatile organic compound. We also want cabinets that are formaldehyde free, so they're not off-gassing chemicals. Let's see. Same thing, if you're putting in carpets or countertops, you want to ask for a no VOC adhesive. These are not going to smell. The products that they're going to use are going to get the job done, but they're not going to be leaving you with headaches and other health concerns. Finishings. Finishings and furniture can also off-gas too. Rugs, wallpaper, anything recently painted, curtains. I actually ordered a rug from Joybird, and that thing had to go in my garage and off gas for 3 weeks because it smelled so bad. Like even my kids were like, "Mommy, this rug doesn't smell right." Well, honey, that's off gassing. That's not good for us. Over here are all of my VOC paints. I'm very, very specific when I get my paints that they have to be VOC, and they're very easy to find. All right. Inside, we can monitor our air quality. There's all kinds of different devices. I just sold a house that had a Foobot monitoring the air quality, but most of them are going to be looking at carbon monoxide, VOCs, particulates, humidity, temperature, radon, and pressure. And I think, Chris, is this one from your phone? Is this yours?
That is, yes. Yeah. So
Tell us about it.
Yeah. And so what's really important here, we actually started with this one because of radon. So in Atlanta, we are a high radon market, EPA zone 1. So it hits different houses for different reasons, but we are just a high occurrence because of our geographic and our geological composition, should I say. So for us, it's really important to monitor radon because it changes from season, weather. For example, radon is usually higher in cold weather. Also, when you get a lot of rain, it can come up into your house. So it's really important to monitor this stuff more than just at the time of sale.
Absolutely. And to keep monitoring it too, because obviously it can change,
Exactly. And you can start understanding how you impact it. Like, oh, I did X, especially like I cooked and this went up. And so you start realizing how you impact the air in your home and how you could change things.
Absolutely. Some labels and certifications that have to do with air quality. There's Green Guard certified products, Safer Choice. The other day, my husband tried to buy some like Laundry detergent, I'm like, babe, just look for the safer choice label. It's really easy to find. Just find one with the safer choice and we're good. I'm not going to complain. And then there's the EPA Indoor Air Plus. So I saw something about the certifications. Energy Star is going to be for new homes. You could tear an existing home basically down to the foundation and start over, but Energy Star is going to be for new homes. And in order to get the Indoor Air Plus, you first have to be Energy Star certified. So it's like a buddy system. You can't get Indoor Air Plus on its own. You have to get Energy Star first. But nevertheless, that could be a searchable field in your MLS. So it is in mine. And I literally had clients call me 2 weeks ago and say, we have environmental sensitivity, we have asthma, and can you help us find, a healthy home to live in? And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you called. Yes, I definitely can. There are very few of them in my MLS, I'll be honest. It is going to be a challenge for me to find something within their budget, but nevertheless, if agents are using the fields in the MLS, it makes it much easier for all of us to help those clients when they call us and they need a special type of home. And then the other one I just wanted to mention, this is like the new kid on the block here, the WELL building certification. If you're really into this and air quality and healthy, there's 105 different points on the WELL certification system. And it goes into everything from like biomimicry and like connection to nature to water quality, air quality, even like your acoustics, or like right now, I could get points because I have a standing desk. So it's about comfort, but it's called the WELL building standard. So check that out if you're interested in this stuff, because it is really the next step. This is the AI Green Addendum. This is just a different part of it. I just wanted to point out that Indoor Air Plus is on here, as well as several other home certification systems. Okay. And there's the ResNet, the Home Energy Score. If you have any of these listings, you need to be using this form. And again, do not fill this out for your clients. They need to fill it out themselves. All right, healthier home habits, off-gassing, select products that don't off-gas chemicals into the air. Take your shoes off at the door. Believe it or not, guys, that's actually like a point on the Lead for Homes rating system, is to have a place for your shoes, because then you're not walking everything from outside inside. Indoor plants. I think I have a plant in every room of my house, but they are known to clean the air. Safer cleaning products. Make sure you're not cleaning with bleach. Find some of those safer choice products and use natural alternatives to keep the chemicals out of.
She froze.
Oh, no. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was just me. Oh, she has our slides too. Melissa, are you with us?
We've also got the HEPA air cleaners. Like, again, HEPA is the Mac Daddy of air cleaners. It's portable, affordable. You have to change it, obviously, and some even use UV light. I have HEPA air filters in every single room of my house by my kids' beds. We turn them on when we're sleeping. And then this picture, I actually helped get, I think we got like 50 of these air cleaners. So right in the beginning of COVID, I helped the elementary school to raise money to buy these dual HEPA air filters that will clean, I think it's 1,000 square feet in like 30 minutes. Don't quote me on that exactly, but nevertheless, these will filter out COVID-19. These will filter out allergens. They'll filter out particulates. And so we got those into every single classroom in our school. All right.
Awesome. And I know we've had a lot of questions about this in the chat. So we did have a real quick breakdown session for you guys about next steps. What can you do? So Melissa, tell us about some of the classes.
All right. NAR's green designation was just rewritten. It's called People, Property, Planet, Prosperity. If you do not have your green designation, I would highly recommend it. I'm offering it in Goodyear, August 31st and September 1st, if you're in the Arizona area. It's also available online, but this is the core knowledge that you need to really differentiate yourself, and then, keep generating those leads and the business that you want. So I would really highly recommend the green designation program. It's 12 hours. Back when I took it, it was 18 hours. So you're going to get a ton of information in a short amount of time. And I promise it's information that you probably haven't encountered in your daily business anyway. And if you already have taken it and you want to audit or take the updated course, it is in your member benefits section. During the pandemic, I also call it my pandemic passion project, but there are 10 micro courses at learning.realtor on everything from construction waste to green home hacks. There's 10 of them on there, and they're about 10 minutes each. So check those out. And then you can play back the Sustainability Summit, attend NAR Next. Stop by the Realtor Green Pavilion. If you're going to the annual conference, there's always a green pavilion with activities and things going on there.
It's going to be really great this year, by the way. So plan to go in November. It's other level for 2022.
And then the last opportunity, we always need new leaders on the Sustainability Advisory Group. If this is something that you're passionate about and you're interested in and you want to help be a part of the solution, we always need new volunteers on the Sustainability Advisory Group. And I think I did see Todd Shipman on here. Our leader.
Let's see. Yeah, he's still here.
All right. Well, thank you, Todd, for your service. And then Realtor Magazine. I loved Realtor Magazine. I don't think I have it on my desk here, but sustainability folks took over the magazine in summer of 2022. And so there's many leaders and topics related to sustainability. So if you haven't been able to catch that, you can find it at magazine.realtor. All right. And then one thing I've been working on for the last almost 9 months, we're going to come out with a sustainability training for NAR. And so it's going to be in 3 modules. I have to review module 3 still today, but it's been progressing so fast. I would venture to say it will probably be done, I would say in October, if I had to guess, but definitely before the end of the year and definitely before the conference. Our goal was to have it done for the conference, but nevertheless, the modules are going to be speaking confidently about sustainability in real estate, knowing how sustainability affects buyers and sellers, and taking sustainability action. And so these are a few of the screenshots. After each one of the modules, you'll be able to get this social media graphic here. It says, I completed the module speaking confidently about sustainability in real estate. And so it's going to be really, really fun to see who's taking this online. And it is fun, you guys. It really is fun. I did the whole thing the other day and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys will like it. If there's any mistakes, it's my fault. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be great. We had 4 of us. It was, let's see, it was Craig Foley helped write this, Bob Hart, Ashley Abernathy, and myself were the original subject matter experts. And then I started working with NAR staff to finish the rest. So it will probably be a little bit longer than an hour, especially if you take the time to click through all of the links. And at the end of each one of the modules, there's field trips. And so I hope that you guys will take the course and let me know how you think.
Awesome. I look forward to taking it too. All right. And then one other option, this starts with you. These aren't just things that, we should be knowing about just to serve a client. Most of us are homeowners. Even if you're a renter, there are options to do things when you rent. There are massive financial, performance, wellness, resiliency benefits for all of these. So a great way beyond just education is firsthand experience. When you go through and you're going to be product research, the project management, choosing a vendor, applying for rebates and tax credits, these give you that firsthand knowledge and confidence to speak with your clients. So you'll have the benefits in your business, in your home, and you're more able to speak to it. And great. We always wonder as agents, how can we engage with our sphere and not feel salesy? By providing your firsthand experience. Just go through this, just like people maybe share what they're cooking or just their life. We know that sharing parts of who you are and what you're going through have high engagement for your clients. And what's most important at a time when our value is being questioned so much as an industry, if you help people understand options for them to have a better experience at home, to save money potentially, that is going to be value that they don't question, and they are going to value you more and potentially even send you referrals. So put this into your life holistically and just go from there. Melissa.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with you. We all have an obligation and personal responsibility. You guys took the first step because you're here right now. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in your education, and that's just going to make you a better agent for your realtors, and that's going to raise the bar for our whole industry. So thank you guys so much for your time. And that is going to conclude our presentation today. Chris, do you want to stick around and answer questions?
I am able to if anybody wants to ask anything. Stephanie, do we have some questions that you got from the chat?
You all were doing a pretty great job keeping up. I know somebody did ask about using gray water in cold climates.
Yeah, I could not speak to that honestly, because I live in the desert. I don't really have a lot of experience in cold climates, but yes, I could see how that's a problem. If the water's not moving, it could freeze in the pipes. Chris, do you have any information on that?
No, obviously, and I think that's important to point out. I mean, we have obviously multiple different types of environments. Like we talked, Melissa and I, even though we're both in warm climates, they're very different. She has a lack of water and humidity. We have excess water in Atlanta. We get more rain than Seattle, and humidity is our issue. So even the building techniques are going to be a little bit different. And so things that they might do in Arizona would not really work well here in Atlanta. So there's a lot of regional differences, but the bottom line is there's a solution for all of them. Look for the opportunities rather than the excuses. It goes into everything that we do, and this is no different.
Absolutely.
I did want to address, we did have somebody that brought rural up a lot, and this is a conversation that happens a lot in Georgia, for example, and it tends to make this that sustainability is an in-town urban elite feature. And the truth is at this point it still is, and it's not a breakdown because of the cost or the applicability to it. It's about an awareness, right? And so that's what got me into real estate, because I did not make much money in marine biology, right? I'm not who would normally make these changes, but I was able to do it. I was able to have massive savings. And the bottom line is we get to is that we all live in bubbles. And if your bubble doesn't include somebody or several people that know this, they don't get talked about. And so what has happened up to this point is that much sustainability information and action has happened in very white and upper income spheres, because they understand the practicality of it, the financial savings, and they also, I will say too, will tend to have the tax liability to take advantage of the savings, which a lot of this is changing, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act. I'm sure NAR will announce something at some point, but it is much more geared toward moderate, middle class and low income folks by, having income caps on the programs and also creating rebates and point of sale credits rather than just tax credits. So if you want to know about rural, it's applicable there. You just have to be, and here's the opportunity for you to understand it as a rural agent and to share that information in your community.
Okay. I'm curious, what impacted you guys today? Are there any changes that you're ready to make or you're going to change? Did we convince you? Either change your home or your office or your habits? That's okay, Tony. We don't all have to do all the same things.
They're all options. These are all options you can explore.
Yeah.
And this is a buffet of choice, right?
Exactly.
It's not forced, it's choice. And the thing is, you need to know that you can even do it. That's really what this is about.
And you don't need to do it all at once either. You just need to start. That's the hardest part, is just starting.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Peggy is in Athens, Georgia. I actually met Peggy earlier this year, and I just closed on a house on Friday that was with her office in Athens. And great sustainability story there is it's an all-electric home in Watkinsville, which is just outside of Atlanta. And a lot of rural areas in Georgia don't have gas infrastructure because it's too costly to run it to non-dense areas. So we already have folks who are very much, already living electric lifestyles. Hopefully we can help them get the better performing electric, because electric resistant cooking isn't, that's not a great experience. But the point is, there are areas that you would not think that are doing this that do.
Mm-hmm. And just to follow up with Tanya, the energy efficient addendum is going to be an appraisal institute tool. So if you just go to Google and put AI addendum or AI green addendum, there's one for residential and there's one for commercial. And then also, I think I saw in the chat, I don't know if I responded or not, where can you find a green appraiser? Same thing. There's a list on the AI website of appraisers that have taken the education. So just like NAR has a green designation, the appraisers have their own suite of green classes that all include an exam at the end. I took the residential valuation of solar class with Sandy Adamatis in 2014, and it is intense, guys. It is really, really high level. So the appraisers that have taken the time to educate themselves are going to be listed on that site. And my hat goes off to AI because they actually made it open. So even if you're not a member, paying member of the Appraisal Institute, they're still going to put your name on there so you can find them, and it's sorted by state. And I just want to, one caveat to that is that's not all the appraisers that know how to evaluate green homes. Those are just the ones that have taken the education. There's going to be appraisers that are qualified by experience that may not have their name listed on there. And so that's why it's important when you're listing a high performance home that you're qualifying the appraiser on the phone to make sure that they've heard of the green and energy efficient addendum, because if they've never heard of it, then you have the wrong appraiser, and we need to get a competent appraiser who understands how to evaluate high performance features and not just, solar panels. And it is harder to evaluate healthy features. I mean, it's much easier to evaluate energy efficiency because that's tied to dollars, and same with our water, we're paying for that, but how much is the value of your health? That's a little bit harder to evaluate. So is there any other questions we need to get to? I'm seeing lots of great ideas. Switching to LEDs, no VOC paint. Awesome. All right.
How about the solar panels again, please? Can you, since you touch base on solar, is it really kind of positively helping people with solar panels now, the expense wise and the savings wise, please?
Absolutely. I actually own two solar homes, one that I live in and one that I rent. And I absolutely love the cost savings, and so do my tenants. They're saving approximately $200 per month, and I just increased the rent by about $200, but they don't have an electric bill pretty much. And then the cool thing, when I didn't have tenants for 1 month, and I didn't even know you could do this, but my house in Glendale, Arizona, paid for my primary residence in Phoenix because there was no one living in the house, and it was generating all that solar production. So I actually had a negative bill. And I got it on Earth Day of all days, which was kind of cool. But Chris, do you want to say anything on solar? And I'm going to post something in the chat for you guys as soon as I can find it for sticking around this long. Bonus.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that go into solar that make it change for everybody. One is, what does electricity cost in your market? So here in Georgia, much like most of the Southeast, our energy is fairly inexpensive. So we do have a longer payback period for solar. Then the other thing is to understand, like what Melissa was talking about, is called net metering. Not every state has it. Georgia, we are working to get more. We have a very small pilot, a number of homes that we're allowed to start. That changes the number. So like in Georgia, typically the average is about an 11-year payback, right? So solar is guaranteed to produce a certain amount of electricity for 25 years of life. So after year 11 with no net metering, then you'd be having a positive ROI. When you add net metering, that ROI in Georgia drops to 5 years or less. So you see the power of net metering there. But there definitely are benefits. It varies from market to market. There's a lot to know. And I would recommend that you get to know who is a top rated solar installer in your area. It's a rapidly growing space, so there's also a lot of scams coming into the area. So find who is local to you, not some out-of-state, behemoth who's going to do everything remotely, but who are the well-respected long-term local installers and companies in your local market. That's who I would go to for local information.
I had a question about brokers' offices and local realtor associations about having the offices going green themselves and retrofitting their offices. And you know, any suggestions about encouraging the actual Realtor offices to retrofit?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's all about money here, right? And that's what it comes down to. Will say that I'm proud to say that Atlanta Realtors did a massive green energy green retrofit of their building in 2014, and we even added electric vehicle chargers. We have 5 on site. Way back in 2014, and we were honored with the Better Buildings Challenge here in Atlanta. We are going through, we've been kicking the can down the road for a couple of years on solar. You know, as a nonprofit, as an association, we don't have a tax liability to absorb the tax credits. But we have a large building, a school, and we also rent space out. So we're a very large association. Now with this, again, we're talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, the tax credits can now be assigned or sold to somebody else that has tax liability. So we are bringing this conversation back up because for us, the problem always was, how can we gain the tax credits without having a tax liability as an association? And for a brokerage, I mean, as long as they own their building, again, it just makes lots of financial sense. On the commercial side, this has been solved for a long time. It's just more of the residential side that has been slower to take off.
Yeah, and really nobody wants to pay more for operations and maintenance. So if they can make their association function more efficiently, then they could pass that savings on to their members. And in the sustainability course that we're developing now, we are going to be featuring 2 associations with success stories. The Santa Barbara Association of Realtors, who successfully was dealing with the issue of drought, and they conserved a whole bunch of water, among other things. They also did a paper audit. And then the Ohio Realtors also is going to be featured in the course, and there will be some suggestions on things that associations can do to get the sustainability committee started and the conversation started as well. So I would encourage you to tune back in a couple of months and take that training to get some more knowledge.
Hey,
Great
Melissa.
question.
Hey, Melissa, it's Todd. Also, the Sustainability Advisory Group will have out in November a toolkit for state and local associations that will begin to outline the steps you need to take and the opportunities. And then at AEI next year, there'll be a push to advocate for state and local associations to do energy improvements to their buildings. So the information's out there. Melissa mentioned Bob Hart in Santa Barbara is a great resource. Northern Virginia has already done this. Washington State and New Jersey are great examples. I'm sure you can reach out to any of those association executives.
All right. Well, I see one last question, and yes, I do charge higher rent for my net zero house. And my clients love it.
Yeah, I bet as a renter, they love those lower energy bills because I feel like, at least here in Atlanta, a lot of rental properties tend to be older, not well kept, and therefore much higher utilities on that tenant.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you everyone for your time today. I really appreciate you guys being here, investing in yourself. Thank you, Christopher, for working with me on this. We put this together really fast, and thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.